Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Hyundai Tucson. The Tucson does technically have two different versions of this screen available and two different versions of the infotainment system. If you want to walk through on the infotainment, you'll find it down below. But inside of this version, it's a full digital 12.3 inch. There is a smaller 4.2 inch in some trims, but if that video is available, you'll find it down in the description of this video, but the feature set's pretty much identical between them. You might have a heated steering wheel inside of your Tucson. If you do, just down the middle there on your climate settings, there's the option of toggling on your heated steering wheel with two unique levels. You've got your heated first row seats there as well. Now on top of that, the steering wheel is going to be manual telescoping. So just down by your left knee, there's a release there. You can go in, out, up and down, so full telescoping to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it and you're good to go. There are so many things that you need to know about the ride. So we'll start off with the buttons along the left-hand side. So these are going to be for your smart cruise or your adaptive cruise control system. So you can toggle it on this way, and that's going to set it at whatever your current speed is. From there, you can push up or down in order to increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. But if you push and hold up or push and hold down, it's going to bring you to the nearest 0 kilometers an hour or 5 miles per hour, 5 or 0. So let's say if you're at 37 kilometers an hour, push and hold up, it'll bring you to 40, 50, 60, etc. Push and hold down, it'll do the opposite. You can hit the brake to pause your speed. You can hit the middle button there to pause your speed and then push in again to resume your previously set speed. And then there's also a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. So 4 unique levels, think of that like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi for how close or far you are away from that leading vehicle. It's strictly going to be adaptive cruise, so no traditional cruise control. But if you want to see how the cruise control system actually works in person, check down in the description of this video for a fuller walkthrough on how it's done. And there's also this little feller, and that's the full lane centering system, so lane follow assist. Where that one comes into play is as long as the system's turned on, so you'll notice the steering wheel appear inside of the cluster screen, and that means that the system is enabled. Now, in order for it to actually fully become functional, it has to recognize the lane markings. Once it does, it becomes green, and then it's going to perfectly keep you balanced and centered into your lane. So even if your hands are off the steering wheel for a second because you've lost focus, you're rubbernecking like an idiot, it's going to keep you nice and balanced in your lane. It's a phenomenal system. Not full self-driving though, because you do have to be paying attention because eventually it tells you that you've got to put your hands back on the steering wheel. But it gets really, really close at the same time. You've got a Pages button here that's going to navigate you through the cluster, and then a scroll wheel to get to some additional options too. But I'll show you that one as we dive deeper in. Along this side, you've got a voice command prompt. Now this is specifically for your Android or iPhone devices. So if you're connected over Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, etc., you'd be able to push in order to activate either your Siri or Google Assistant. There's a volume rocker there. You can push in the middle to mute. You can also answer or hang up on a phone call. And then there are a few different buttons. So this one is going to let you change between all of your available presets. You can also push and hold up or push and hold down instead, so either way, in order to be able to seek out to different stations. Then there's a mode button, and that's going to change you between all of your selected sources. So inside of the infotainment system, you could jump into your setup and then your buttons, and that gives you the flexibility of adjusting which each button does. So mode is going to let you change between all of your available sources, versus this custom button is going to do certain things like jump to the home screen or whatever you have it set to there instead. So straightforward. Then you've got paddle shifters inside the ride. So you're minus on the left-hand side, plus on the right-hand side. So minus in order to essentially drop gears if you wanted the vehicle to pick up your RPMs to launch you forward or to rely on engine braking and then increase gears as necessary. But if you've never used paddle shifters before, in order to use them, it's straightforward. But I've put together a walkthrough video on how to use them. You can find that down in the description of this video. Now let's talk about all of our stocks because you've got 3 different ones. So the one on the left-hand side is going to be for your lights. So you've got your lights option there along the left-hand side. You're going to be in the auto mode the majority of the time. But the thing about the auto mode is that you can't permanently lock your high beams out. You can flash them no problem, but in order to lock them out, you have to go into the upper headlamp mode. You can then push away to turn those high beams on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. But like I said, auto mode the majority of the time. You've got your blinkers there. Along the right-hand side is going to be for your wipers. So single down is going to be just one wipe. You can go up a level to get to your intermittent or auto mode. You can then use the rocker switch in the middle to control how fast or slow you want those wipers going instead. Along the far right side, you've also got the option of toggling your rear wiper on there. You're going to pull towards you for the front wiper fluid. You're going to push away in order to get the rear wiper fluid going instead. Then you've got your shifter along the right side. So in order to use it, all you have to do is hit the brake. You're going to flip up to get into drive, lightly drop to get to neutral, all the way down to get to reverse. And then there's also a P button on the side, and that's going to put you into park. This version of the Tucson strictly has your traditional camera, so your traditional backup camera. It doesn't have the full surround view or 360 cam. Some trim levels of the vehicle have a full 360 cam. On top of that, the ones that have the 360 cam would also have the blind spot view monitor. So when you hit the turn stalk to go left or right, it's going to show you what's going on in your blind spot right inside of the cluster. It's a really, really cool system. But using that shifter, really straightforward. It takes a little bit of getting used to dropping into neutral, but once you figure it out, there's like that little touch. You just got to touch it the right way, and then it'll listen. Then, along the left-hand side, you've got a few different switches by your left knee, and you'd have the flexibility of adjusting the brightness of the cluster screen if you'd like to. You can open up your trunk, there's a traction control, and then your parking brake. So to turn the parking brake on, you're just going to pull the button towards you, and that's going to toggle the parking brake on. To turn it off, you're going to hit the brake, you're going to push away, and that's going to toggle the parking brake off instead. Inside of the cluster screen, you've got your speedometer off to the left-hand side, tachometer off to the right-hand side, your current fuel level that's done a few different ways. So you've got your traditional gauge and then kilometers or miles till empty. You've also got your current engine temperature, whether or not the auto hold system or the auto start stop system are toggled on or off. There's also the current outside temperature, what gear you're currently in, so whether that's drive, neutral, reverse, park, etc. If you had a Tucson that had the reverse park sensing system, that would also show up there as well. So you'd be able to see those sensors along the outside. And then you've also got some of the other buttons there. So if you had the lane centering system turned on, turned off, etc., that would be there. If you had cruise control, smart cruise, you can't toggle it on when you're parked, but if that was available, you'd see your speed along the top side there too. Then you've got your pages button here. So pages will let you jump between two individual pages. So you can see that along the very bottom. So your first one would be all of your trip counters. So you've got your current trip. That's from your last ignition cycle. So from when you last turned the vehicle on. Scrolling down a level brings you into since refueling. So the last time you filled the vehicle up, how far have you gotten? You go one more time, and that's going to be your total trip counter instead. And you'll notice that you've got the option of resetting. So all you're going to do is on any of these screens, if you wanted to reset, you're just going to push and hold the OK button, and that's going to recenter you back to 0. Then you'll also notice, if you see on the very bottom, so you've got your total trip counter, how long it's been running, your average fuel economy, but there's a little gauge along the bottom here too. So this one, we've been driving and we've averaged 10 liters per 100. It's been brutal because I'm just sitting here doing explainer videos. But along the side here, you can see it's going to denote that we're at 10 liters or 10.1 liters per 100 now instead. So if your fuel economy gets better in Canada, it's going to go left. If it gets better in the States, it's going to go right. So the difference between miles per gallon versus liters per 100. But that's going to essentially be the same indicator as what you've got on the average level here. Moving down a level is going to be your start-stop system, tire pressure, which you have to be actively driving in order to see, and then also your power distribution. So because we're in the all-wheel drive version, it's which wheel gets which amount of power, but that screen's not going to be visible across the board. And then you're going to have a slightly different gauge setup as well if you've got the hybrid, where there's a charge versus power gauge as well. But if you want to walk through on a hybrid version, you'll find that down in the description of this video. Hitting the Pages button is going to be your driver assistance screen. So what you'll notice is that if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, if you've got the system enabled, it's going to go red there on either side, letting you know that somebody's entered the blind spot. You have the flexibility to adjust the lookout a tiny little bit. So inside of the infotainment system, if you go into your setup and then cluster, that's going to give you the option of adjusting things out. So you could change it out to a few unique looks. So there's simple, modern versus classic. So you've got different looks that are available there. And then you can also tie it to your drive mode. So down the center stack, there's a button that you can do in order to move between different modes. So there's a normal mode, a sport mode, or you can create your own custom mode. And then there are terrain modes, so snow, mud, and sand. These are going to play with traction control, stability control, things like that, like sport mode. Rather than the vehicle shifting out gears at, let's say, 2,000 or 2,500 RPM, it might shift out at 4,000 plus RPM. But you've got the flexibility here of locking it out to any style. So if you wanted to link the look to whatever drive mode that you're currently in, it's going to adjust it out as you move between all of your different modes. But let's say if you love the look of the sport mode, like I'm a fan of that one, it's just got a, I don't know, a meaner, more aggressive look, but you want the performance or benefits of the normal mode. You could lock it out to any of these individual styles instead. There's a lot of other things that you can do, like there's a blue light filter and things like that. But if you want a full walkthrough on the infotainment system, you'll find it down in the description of this video. I know that that's a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the steering wheel, as well as the cluster screen inside of the Hyundai Tucson.